and welcome to the Crimson Stitchery, a video channel about making all things beautiful and useful. My name is Anushka. You can find me elsewhere online as a sour telling, and links for this video can be found in the description box here below on YouTube. So hi, thanks for joining me. I'm recording on a really gloomy grey November afternoon. There's been no light all day, so I thought why not brighten things up with a video because I've got quite a lot of knitting to share with you guys, and also I finally finished sewing together this vintage knitted cardigan. Hooray! So I've got a finished object and loads of whips. In this video I will also be announcing the winner of the prize draw that I ran with Collage to celebrate 10,000 subscribers here on my YouTube channel. So keep watching because I'm going to be announcing that towards the end of the video. Meanwhile, I hope that you are comfy and settled, and let's get straight into it, talking about what I have in my knitting basket, which today is what I'm wearing. And yes, I finally finished sewing together my tri-cable cardigan. This is a cardi from a vintage pattern that was reproduced and multi-sized in the book A Stitch in Time Volume 2 by Susan Crawford, and I knit this through the spring, primarily through the first lockdown that we had here in the UK, and now here we are finally in the middle of the second lockdown, second official like nationwide lockdown, and I finally forced myself to finish stitching it together because it was knit in pieces. So if you are relatively new to the channel and want to catch up about this cardi, it's from a vintage pattern, and I basically knit it as part of my Stashless 2020 endeavours because I had two balls of yarn that I purchased whilst on holiday in Lisbon a number of years ago, which I had bought to make a shawl with, but then changed my mind, wanted to make a cardi with them. However, unfortunately there was not enough for a cardi, and I ordered some extra balls, but very sadly they were all in different dye lots. So the challenge for this project was to basically figure out a way to combine all of the different dye lots of the yellow yarn in such a way that it was okay. And I talked about this quite at length during the episodes through the spring and early summer, but basically there were three types of yellows. So the original yarn that I bought was a very acid yellow, a chartreuse on the verge of green, like a really unripe banana, like limoncello, you know, kind of glowing acidic green, and that's what I really liked about it because it was quite a challenging colour and just fun. But the second two dye lots of yarn that I received, so I had to get four balls in total, and then the middle one was like more of a buttercup yellow, so it didn't have that acidity or that greenness to it, but it was kind of okay. But then the third ball I got was much more mustardy, it had more of a brown tone, so you could really see the difference there. And I'm very glad to say that in artificial light, so in this indoor setting like I'm in now, you can't really tell that much the difference, which is great. You can kind of tell the difference in natural light, but overall it has settled down. And what I did was basically I took the acid greenish yarn and I did the fronts of the sweater in that, but the back I did it in a darker colour, and the back's got this cabled panel as well. And then the sleeves I did a stripe, so I did 2 rows in the lighter yellow and 2 rows in the dark yellow. So again, you really, I mean, can you tell that the sleeve is slightly darker, but it also comes across as shadow? No, you really can't tell in the artificial light, you really can't. You can kind of tell if you really kind of stare at it and scrutinise it in person in really good natural lighting, but that's absolutely fine. I think I've accepted it. I was feeling a bit anxious about it at first because obviously when you're working on the knitting and you're staring at it, and I could see the stripes of the 2 yellows across the sleeves, but I feel like overall that was quite a good solution in order to work in the different dye lots, kind of keeping the one I preferred at the front because that's what I'm going to see the most, you know, keeping the different one at the back because there's not really anything to compare it to, and then kind of working in that stripe. So yeah, it was kind of a compromise that I made. And that was part of my Stashless 2020 series, an initiative that I've been running all year long to try and work through my stash, primarily my stash of yarny materials, and use what I have a little bit more before buying materials for new projects, and my oh my has there been so much temptation, especially recently. But the only annoying thing was because I had to buy extra yarn, I've actually got leftovers. I've got under a ball of leftovers across the 2 of the 3 different colours, so that's a bit annoying. And so I've gone from 2 full balls of yarn to having to buy 2 extra, and I'm being left with maybe 3/4 of 1 ball. So that's not quite worked out in the stash list thing, but at least I have done the project that I wanted to do with it, so at least I've got that ticked off, and that now I just need to try and come up with a second project. So if I show you the cardi in a bit more detail, I'll come a bit closer to the camera. It's got this fabulous cable on it with a broken rib texture in the middle. And I made a lot of alterations. I can't remember everything I did, to be honest. I'm pretty sure I cropped the length, I extended the ribbing, I did really long ribbed cuffs on the sleeves that I love. It's all come out a little bit tighter than I'd realised, like it's very form-fitting. And I have Corona belly. I've put on weight. I've gone up a dress size this year just from the lack of movement. Like, I think in the first lockdown I was much better at forcing myself to get out and about and exercise and stuff like that, but now it's winter and it's wet and dark and cold and I've totally lost motivation. And yeah, it is what it is. I've just come to accept it, and hopefully, you know, when I can get out and about and, you know, bop around, see my friends, go to events, leave the house, then, you know, things will get back to normal, just being a bit less sedentary. But yeah, so the other thing about this is that it's got a little garter stitch neckband, which is looking quite nice. I've tied it in a bow. Sometimes it doesn't fall very nicely, but it's behaving itself now, so I won't undo it. But yeah, it really does look very sweet now. And then the buttonholes were knitted in. They came out rather large. I'm not quite sure what happened there. And then the buttons are vintage, but basically I had only 4 of this kind of bright white, slightly patterned plastic. I think they're acrylic, so I had to intersperse them. I don't know if you can see, if I stand back, I had to intersperse them with another vintage button, so it's like alternating buttons. If I kind of turn to different angles, you can sort of see the 2 different textures of the button. So that's just a little bit of fun, really, a little fun kind of bonus detail. And then yeah, that's that really. So delighted about my finished object, delighted that I finally finished it. Oh, the one thing I wanted to mention was obviously this was knit in pieces. This is very common for a lot of vintage British knitting patterns. And I wasn't quite sure how to stitch on the neckband, and that's one of the reasons why it took me such a long time to stitch this together, because this project has been finished for a number of months, maybe even since June, I can't remember. July, June, someone can check back through my videos and tell me. And it took me a while to stitch it together because I don't have a problem with mattress stitch, but I just couldn't figure out the best way to do the neckband, and I kept putting that off. And what I eventually did was that I tried a mattress stitch on the neckband, but it just didn't look very nice. So I ended up doing a whip stitch, just literally round and round, with the edges flush, and that just seemed to work the best. So just a little, just something to note really, doing that neckband, and it's allowed it to sit completely flush and not have any, you know, ridges or lumps or anything like that. And if I lift my hair up, it looks quite nice around the back as well. So very, very pleased with my latest finished object, my cardi. And it's quite nice because for a couple of years running, I made a cardigan every autumn. I made a red one, I made a teal one. The next year I made a navy jumper that I'm going to talk about in a moment instead of a cardi, but that got frogged because it didn't fit very nicely. And then last year I made a pink jumper at this time of the year, and then now I've got this yellow cardi. So it's just a nice little thing that I've done for a number of years in the autumn, knit something for myself at the same time and then at the same point in the year, you know, sort of around October, November, and then just really enjoyed wearing it through the winter months. It is nice to have something new after all. So this is this year's cardi. And what else have I been knitting? Well, I'm not gonna lie everyone, I have been in a bit of a slump lately. This second lockdown has, you know, been not great. Not great, and I've been turning to my knitting quite a lot. I think it's nice to be able to feel productive in some areas of your life, even when you can't be, or you don't have a lot of control over other areas. So I've been working on my blanket, and this strip, I'm pretty sure I showed you this strip last time, so this was finished last time. And then I've done strip number 2. Done about a strip a week, I guess, since I've been speaking to you. It's been surprisingly slow actually, like it takes quite a long time to do just one of these strips. So I'm just gonna show it to you a bit more slowly. And I'm joining the individual squares of the log cabins with 3 needle bind off, hence all of these strips. And then strip number 3, is this 3? Yeah, I think strip number 3 is coming along. And I am enjoying it. Enjoy playing with the colours. It takes up a lot of room because I like to lay out the strips and kind of look at them all together and decide what colour to do next. I'm going to do 5 strips, so I'm well over halfway because I've got this going as well, but I think I messed up one of the colours, so you know, when I didn't want to have like 3 of the same colour next to each other, so I messed up, so this has been assigned to a strip 4. So yeah, I'm well over halfway, which is nice. What else is there to say about this? Every square does take longer than I realise, I've got to say. I've still feel like I've got too much yarn, but most of the cream yarn in the contrast is the same because it was left over from a jumper, but I think I'm actually going to have to lengthen the jumper that I made with that, which was the Christmas jumper that I finished in July, because it was cropped and it just has come out too cropped. So I think I'm actually going to have to reclaim some of the yarn I set aside for this blanket to add another at least an inch onto the jumper, which means that I need to try and figure out other white yarn. I'm just thinking aloud here, because I'm really trying to use scraps. So I've still got this bag of yarn of blues and greens, and then in here I've got reds. So I mean, it started off as 3 bags full of yarn and now it's gone to 2 bags full of yarn, so that is great because it's just getting a bit overwhelming, and it's so nice to have the finished blanket and all the finished squares, and to know that all of that leftovers yarn has gone into something really beautiful and that I'm really going to enjoy having. So yeah, that's another one of my Stashless 2020 projects that I hope to be finishing at some point, you know, maybe by the end of the year. That would be nice to have that one done. And what else have I been knitting? So my scrap sock I mentioned last time, so I've got one tiny little scrap sock here. I've shown that to you before. That I'm going to be giving away as a gift, so I'd already finished that. And then the second one, on its way. I just turned the heel today because this is my video conferencing software knit, and because it's so tiny and small, because it's for a very, very small footed somebody, I'm sure it's going to be done in no time, either to give away as Christmas or maybe to hoard for a birthday gift later on in the winter. So that's that. And then the last thing is that I did so much work on the blanket, having done those extra strip and a half since I'd last talked to you, that I felt like, I don't know, I felt a bit blanketed out. I think having sort of worked on it quite obsessively because it was new, and I was like, oh, I've got all this momentum, I want to keep going with the momentum, you know, while I still got it before I get bored of it. So I did quite a lot on it, and then one day I was like, oh my goodness, I need to do something else. So I started working on the jacket for my partner, and I showed you the swatch a few weeks ago, which has got a really lovely texture, just a kind of diagonal ridges. And then I've got the first piece here, which again, so that's going to be that. I've got up to the armholes on the first piece, and it's a vintage kind of baseball jacket style. So the ribbing is pretty tight. Obviously that will stretch, and then it will blouse a little bit over the top of that, and then this hole is going to be a pocket and it's all going to have zips. So I need to I think I need to figure out the zips and get them ordered pretty soon, because it being November, you know, the postage is going to really slow down as we get into December. In fact, it's slowed down already. So that is that, and then I started the rib on the second front too, just to make sure that they are matching. And I've got a feeling, unfortunately, that I'm going to run out of yarn for this as well, which is quite annoying. So the reason for that, I think, is because my gauge is pretty different from what the tension on the pattern, and that my row gauge is a lot shorter, which is just because I don't have the same yarn at all. So I thought I'd ordered enough yarn, but I'm pretty sure I'm going to be coming up short. So I'm going to be playing this dye lots matching game again, which is quite annoying. So the plan is to do all of the fronts, the sleeves, and it's got this big fold over collar, to do all of that in the original dye lot, and then just do the back, the large back piece, all in the new dye lot when I order that. So yeah, not ideal at all, but it is what it is. Yeah, it's why it can, I guess ideally, you know, sometimes it would be better to maybe just to buy one ball of yarn and swatch with it and play with it, and then you'll know, A, if you like it enough to order the whole load for a sweater, but then you'll know definitely how much you would need to order, or at least if you might be coming up short like I will do. So yeah, I was hoping to give this to him for his Christmas present, but I'm not very good with deadline knitting. I like to have deadlines in other areas of my life, but with deadline knitting it just seems to add way too much pressure. So we'll see about that. There's lots of things that come up, like birthday, Christmas, anniversary. We don't do Valentine's, but sometimes I feel nice and give him a present just to be nice. I don't know, Chinese New Year, it's red, he could wear that. Plenty of occasions coming up, or I could just give it to him anyway. But yeah, I'm pretty excited. I hope that he will enjoy wearing it, because I did knit him a cardigan before a few years ago, about 5 years ago, and he really liked it, but it was just too much of a special occasion number, and he just he just kept saving it for best, which just meant that it hardly got worn at all, which was a bit of a shame. But I think that this I think with the sort of the baseball jacket style, and with all the pockets and everything, I think it will feel a bit more like casual, and maybe a bit more integrated into his wardrobe. So that will be that. So that's all of the knitting. Next up is mending stories, and I've got a couple of anecdotes to share with you. Firstly is that I've mended a pair of socks for my sister. You guys will have seen these before a couple of times. And she'd worn holes in them, but I decided to do a knitted patch, which I'm just showing you here, and I was really pleased that I managed to do this mending in daytime, and not only did I do it in daytime, I managed to record it while I was doing the mending. Hooray! Because so many times I'm just sort of doing things, and then afterwards I'll remember, oh, you know, someone had asked me for a tutorial, or that would make a great tutorial for the channel, and I just haven't been organised enough to film it. So I'm really trying to get into better habits of sort of integrating video making with what I'm doing anyway. Yeah, so I did that, and then yeah, basically when I was filming it for the tutorial, at one point the actual record button on the camera is actually a bit sensitive, and for one little shot I actually didn't press the record button hard enough. So I did the whole thing and didn't record like this one step, so I thought, oh, that's so annoying. So I went back on the second sock and sort of repeated myself, but then I didn't realise that the second sock actually had way more damage on it than the first sock. So I ended up doing a second patch, like only after I'd done it did I realise there was you know, another hole, I think because I'd been so focused on, you know, so annoyed about missing something out. And then I actually found a whole load of weak kind of weakened, worn away, frayed stitches on the sides. So it ended up having also some Swiss darning. So that's kind of silly, because if I'd realised that there was so much damage to this sock, I actually would have just cut the toe off and re-knit it. But as it is, it's just got loads of patches. So little Frankenstein-y sock to go back to my sister. I didn't mind doing that, but it's just it feels silly, because when you do a bit of mending, you're meant to examine examine the item, and then you figure out, oh, it's just one small hole, I'll just do a quick repair, but if not, I'll actually replace the toe, because that could be quicker in the long run. So yeah, anyway, just highlighting this to show you that we all make mistakes, and that's fine. That's just it, it's just a mistake. So yeah, a lot of the time I get asked like about certain resources and guidance and so on, and that's why I'm trying to make more effort to film more tutorials and just upload more guidance and help and sort of teaching materials on this channel. But the best thing to do is just to have a go, really. Just have a go, and you'll make your own mistakes, and you'll make more mistakes, and that's the best way to learn. The next thing to talk about on Mending Stories is that the saga of my grandfather's waistcoats, plural, continues. If you are a new viewer or just checking in for the first time on this episode of the Crimson Stitchery, the saga of my grandfather's waistcoats has been going on for the last 2 episodes. So you might want to check back there, but in summary, my grandfather was cold, I knitted him a waistcoat, my grandfather's response was, I didn't want this. And I got quite a lot of commiseration in the comments. Thank you very much for anyone who has shared their own anecdote or expressed sympathy or empathy or understanding or patience in the comments. I appreciate you so much. I also got some comments saying that if they had knitted something for someone and they had had that reaction, that they would have been really upset. And sure, like, I've got a thick skin when it comes to these kind of things, because you have to, because otherwise it would be easy to get upset about a lot of different things, and I choose not to. I often get irritated, but I try not to actually get upset, if you see what I mean, like it's sort of on the surface but actually not kind of going in too deep. And that is because I know that my grandfather loves me a lot. He is an affectionate person. He's just got his own strange ways of showing it. But like my grandfather is a very big deal in my life. He is my father figure, because I grew up in a single parent family, and yeah, when you grow up in a single parent family, often the grandparents really step in, which is what happened with me. As a side note, I've been watching the Gilmore Girls lately, and I never watched it when it was on TV. In fact, when I was at university, my housemates were obsessed with it. They used to watch it like on repeat constantly, and I found it really dull. So I don't know what's happened. Like, I'm obviously getting old, my tastes have changed, bloody blah, but I like to watch it, and then I like to sit back and laugh, ha ha ha, at like all of the bickering that goes on between all of the different female characters, because it reminds me of my family and I don't have to be there. So anyway, who knows, maybe I was missing out on a trick in the past. But yeah, just to any of you guys who thought that it wasn't very nice to have a gift spurned, what can you do? You can't control how other people react. You can only control, as they say, how you feel. Well, you can't control it, but you can only work on yourself, basically. And I choose not to be upset or offended, although I allow myself to be irritated, because yeah, it's just a waste of energy, which is why in the last video I said that I was really happy to have made the decision to give him the gift, because that was for me to do that nice gesture, to do that nice thing for him, even if he feels differently. So to continue and move on to the next part of the saga. The next part of the saga, actually there's 2 parts, because I saw him twice. Yes, we're in lockdown, we're not meant to be fraternising, but they spend a lot of time outdoors in the garden, so it's all right, don't worry. Don't report me to the police, just joking. As a little side note, all of this, just the whole lockdown and lack of social contact, and just all of the guidance has just been really terrible, and definitely really bad when it comes to anyone that has caring duties in any way, and also elderly people for whom like real isolation and lack of social contact is, you know, just as bad as getting sick, basically. So anyway, I think it's all been very badly handled. Anyway, side note aside. So I saw him and he said to me, "Oh, can you mend this?" So this, he handed me, this St. Michael's, Marks and Spencer's, is the shrunken in the washing machine waistcoat. Lumpy, crappy, that he's been wearing. Shrunken. He's been wearing bubbly, ugly, faded. And it's got holes in it. And he said to me, "Oh, can you mend this for me?" Oh, lovely. I've just put my hand in the pocket and there's an old dirty tissue in it. Great, great. Thanks so much for that. "Can you mend this for me?" And I went, "Oh, it's got holes." And he went, "Yeah." So I said, "Oh, okay, sure, I can mend it for you. But what are you gonna wear in the meantime? Why don't you wear the one that I made you?" "Oh, yeah, that's true. Okay," is what he said. I was like, great. I've got the waistcoat. I've kidnapped the waistcoat. I'm never gonna mend this. It's gonna go on the bottom of the mending basket pile. He's never gonna get it back. He'll finally have to wear the waistcoat that I knitted him. Ha ha, I thought to myself. Then I saw him again a week later. What was he wearing? He was wearing yet another Marks and Spencer's waistcoat from the 1990s. Where was the waistcoat that I had just knitted him? Nowhere to be seen. I was like, "Oh, nice waistcoat." "Oh, yeah, yeah." "Stripy." "Yeah, I didn't knit you a stripy waistcoat." So the waistcoat saga continues. I bet you that I could kidnap the stripy 90s waistcoat. I bet you I could kidnap that too, and then just another waistcoat would appear from nowhere, and my knitted waistcoat would just, yeah, I mean, it's gonna, night from the 90s, it's gonna be 30 years. It's gonna be 30 years. He's 79. But he doesn't have 30 years to season his waistcoat. He doesn't have 30 years to mature the waistcoat that I knitted him. You know, like the wool needs that like mothball quality or something before he'll deign to wear it. It's not gonna happen. It's not gonna happen. Anyway, when that waistcoat emerges in, you know, how old is he? 79. How old is he gonna live to? It's hard to say because his mum was 99 when she died. So he's got at least 20 years. And for anyone who's getting upset about this, like, my family are one of those families that always making jokes about death and talking about funerals. So I am sorry if you think that I am sorry if it offends you. However, trust me, like the amount of times my grandma has gone through her funeral plan with me since, in fact, not even with me, like with her own children, like way before I was born. You know, it's just the way the humour goes in the family. So anyway, I think long story short was knitting that waistcoat was definitely a waste of time. Maybe at some point I'll just reclaim it and give it to my partner, because it did actually look really nice on my partner and he really liked it. He really liked the pattern. He thought it was flattering. He loved the yarn. I think the long story short here is don't make stuff for my granddad. So waistcoat saga parts 3 and 4. Let's hope there'll be no more waistcoat notices needed. And so, okay, on that sad note, that takes me to the end of everything that I've been making. So let's move on to talk about the winner for the 10,000 subscribers giveaway, which was a prize drawn randomly from a comment on my last video where I asked you to share your favourite tool with me. And thank you very much to everybody who entered. We had over 200 comments and there were so many lovely stories and anecdotes and nice family stories. Not like the horrible family stories that I've just told you. Anyway, there were some really, really lovely comments. I really enjoyed reading through. I invite anyone watching now, if you haven't done so already, to check out those comments, because there are just some lovely things, like lots of stories about family heirlooms, not so family heirlooms, thrift store finds, lucky finds, you know, dedicated tools, a lot of brand recommendations as well. You know, it's not all family heirlooms and stuff like that. Lots of like more contemporary and sort of well-designed tools and stuff like that. So it made for really fun reading. Thank you very much for keeping me entertained. And I did use a random comment picker in order to find the winner. And the winner is B. So congratulations, B, and I'll read you her comment. B said, "My son made a wood tray to specific dimensions to allow me to make jewellery when I'm stuck in bed. It's a perfect tool made with love, and it's beautiful and makes me smile. Another is a small wood bowl made by my brother in 8th grade more than 40 years ago. That little bowl sits beside my knitting chair and is used every day because it holds stitch markers, tiny scissors, cord stoppers, etc." Thank you so much, B. Please do send me an email to thecrimsonstitchery@gmail.com. I'll write it in the description box below as well, so that we can communicate about how to claim your prize, which was kindly donated by Knit Collage, which was a mini skein sampler set. So thank you so much to Knit Collage for generously donating that beautiful prize. Congratulations to B for winning, and commiserations to all of everyone else who didn't win. I'm sorry, but I hope that you can enjoy browsing a little bit on Knit Collage anyway for a little bit of inspiration. They share lots of really fun, colourful and lively projects, so I invite you to do that. Yeah, just thank you again for entering, because I really enjoyed your comments. I think it was just, it's just nice to always feel like we've kind of got this community feeling around the Crimson Stitchery. And also thanks to anyone who commented something along the lines of, "I hope that I win." That made me laugh. I was like, I hope I win. I was like, yeah, just put it out there. That's what you hope. It wasn't up to me. It was a random comment picker who did that. So thanks so much, everyone. The last thing that I want to share is just a little bit of news about the Crimson Stitchery in December, because I have decided to do Vlogmas. I did make an attempt to do Vlogmas last year and I started and didn't finish. But this year I have decided to take part, and I've decided in advance. And so that's kind of why I didn't release too many videos on this channel in November, because in December I have decided to release a video on weekdays leading up to Christmas. And then I'll probably have a break until the end of the year. So I hope that you guys enjoy that. And in order to kind of keep it interesting and keep it relevant, but also helpful, I'm actually not going to do everything as a vlog, but I'm going to do a mixture of vlogs and some tutorials. So I'll be saving that mending tutorial for December, just as a fun way to kind of have this boost of extra content. I know that not everybody celebrates Christmas, or, you know, or even any other kind of December festivity. In the UK, we don't say the phrase "the holidays." We tend to just say Christmas, even when you are secular. So Christmas is, you know, it is a kind of cultural phenomenon in the UK, not necessarily a religious one. It's not just for Christians, and you know, my family are not Christians. I'm not a Christian. Growing up, a lot of my friends were, you know, Jews, Hindus, and Sikhs, and Muslims, and we would still celebrate Christmas. You know, people would still celebrate Christmas with their families and kind of engage with that as a tradition. It's just how it is in the UK, or at least in the part of London that I'm from. So yeah, that's what that is, just to give you a little bit of context. So I'm looking forward to doing that, and I hope that you guys enjoy it too. My point about Christmas was that it's not all going to be Christmas themed, but also I just wanted to acknowledge that not everybody likes Christmas. I, for one, do not like Christmas movies, and I do not like Christmas music very much. The only one that I do every year is Feliz Navidad, because I've got a couple of students who are Catalan, and they just really like, even though it's not sung in Catalan, it's sung in Castellano, but they just like having a Spanish Christmas song that they can sing that's like popular. So, you know, it's all just a big jumble basically. Just as a side note, I'm wondering, is anyone Catalan watching? Because my students told me all about cacatío, Uncle Log, and yes, it is caca as in poo-poo, Uncle Poo-poo, the Catalonian Christmas tradition. Maybe I should be saving all of this back chat for Vlogmas. Honestly, this material is gold. I don't know what I'm doing wasting it now, but maybe there'll be a repeat. Maybe cacatío will the tradition of cacatío will come back. If you don't know what I'm talking about, please Google it, because I swear I am not making this up, but I'm not going to talk about it anymore because I'm clearly ruining the surprise. Anyway, Vlogmas, I'm going to do it. Weekday videos, hopefully short ones, not like these kind of long half an hour long chats or anything like that. So my hope is that you guys, if you're not wanting to watch the videos every day, you know, you can kind of save them up and maybe watch them over the weekend when you're crafting, maybe get some ideas in that sense. I also wanted to know if you guys had any burning questions or any particular thing that you were interested in having me try to capture during this Vlogmas period. I know I've been asked about doing a houseplant vlog so many times. People always ask me about this pink plant, which is not looking it's not looking great at the moment, sadly. I think it's a bit stretched, like it's not had enough daylight. So that could be an opportunity. I do have a plan of action at the moment, but we'll see. Just, you know, just in case anyone's got any ideas and want to throw them at me, I'm quite happy to listen, to have a little consider any requests, but although I can't obviously promise that I would get to them. So that's it from me. No more rambling about logs, and I'm going to sign off here. I hope that you have enjoyed this episode. If you have, please give me a like down below and hit the subscribe button if you haven't done so already. Lastly, I want to draw your attention to my newsletter, which is something that I write at the beginning of every month. I will have an announcement in December, so do subscribe to that. It's free if you're interested in getting my news more regularly. And finally, a big thank you to everybody who has recently reached out, left me a comment and bought me a coffee over on ko-fi.com, which is a donation platform that allows you guys to contribute directly to the cost of this channel by metaphorically buying me a coffee. It is rather metaphorical at the moment because I haven't been leaving the house, but I really appreciate it. I appreciate your contributions. They make a very big difference in the running of this channel and sort of making all of this endeavour possible. So a big thank you, and if you're interested in checking that out and getting involved, the links are down below. That's everything from me today. Thanks so much for watching, everyone. Take care. Bye bye.